Hello and welcome to my CISSP Review Questions video series. I am Seolito Rodriguez. My questions will cover the 8 domains of the CISSP with detailed explanations, demos, real-world examples. Again, this is the only place that you need to be if you are really serious about passing the CISSP exam. Question 41. Which of the following is the best option to reduce the network attack surface of a system? A. Disabling unnecessary ports and services. B. Ensuring that there are no group accounts on the system. C. Uninstalling default software on the system. Or D. Removing unnecessary system user accounts. The correct answer here is A. Disabling unnecessary ports and services. The network attack surface includes all the network accessible points where an attacker could try to gain entry into a system. The best way to reduce this surface is by disabling unnecessary ports and services, since one, each open port or running service can be an entry point for an exploit, and two, fewer active services, that is, uh, means basically fewer vulnerabilities exposed to the network. Now, option B, managing group accounts, obviously that is a good practice, but doesn't directly reduce the network attack surface. So A is a better choice. Uninstalling default software helps harden, but may not affect the network layer. And removing user accounts reduce internal attack risk, not network exposure. And yes, it is also a best practice to remove user accounts if they're not used. But again, in this case, disabling unnecessary ports and surfaces addresses exactly what the question is asking. This is the remote desktop software in a Windows 10, Windows 11 computer. Remote desktop lets you connect to and control this PC from another PC, right? Now, obviously, this is a client computer. Remote desktop is very commonly used in a network environment to uh, remote to a server, for example. As a network, as a system administrator, we uh, usually have to remote desktop to manage the service. System administrators do that all the time, uh, especially nowadays where you are working in maybe from home, working in the office. Those services maybe it's in a data center that they may be down the hall, but they also may be in another city, even in another country. Those of us who have worked in multinational companies had to use remote desktop all the time to do this. But at the same time, in in the Verizon report, Verizon produces this attacks kind of report yearly, and year after year, it has been documented that the remote desktop port 3389, it's one of the most attacked vector. It's one of the most common entry points into a company. And especially during the COVID times where a lot of people were working from home, they install all these kind of tools. Now, remote desktop is built into the operating system, but again, it's not the most secure thing. Unless it is extremely necessary, you should not have remote desktop. Now, in this Windows computer, if I want, that means that I can connect to this computer remotely from another computer. If I want to disable that, then I just click on off on this thing and just set it off. So this is again, using artificial intelligence is very easy to produce this kind of scripts. If you don't know PowerShell, for example, so this command, the test dash net connection, computer name, and then the IP address, and then the port basically will test to see if remote desktop is open in any computer. So we just saw that remote desktop was open on my computer. But again, just if you have any computer on the network, if you want to test if remote desktop is open, this is an easy way to find that out. Another common tool that you can use is Nmap. So if you have Nmap on any computer, ZenMap on Windows, for example, or in Linux, the Nmap command, this command will basically detect, for example, here I am trying to detect if these two ports are open in my entire network. That's what the /24 means. And so 3389 is for RDP, 5938 is for TeamViewer, which is an application commonly used by IT admins, again, to gain access to a computer remotely. And this was another service or software that was or that has been exploited by the attackers. Again, COVID changed the way that we do system administration, and a lot of people installed TeamViewer and other tools out there to remote into the system. Now that people are going back to work, this is not necessary, but people are not removing these tools. So these tools continue to be used by attackers to do that. And again, so if you don't know Nmap, if you don't know PowerShell, using ChatGPT is a great tool. ChatGPT is great for this kind of things, producing scripts and commands in order to do that. So if you're not good at that, as a security administrator, it is a must to understand how this works. Now, depending on what is your role in cybersecurity, obviously, if you are an analyst, this is a must. If you are a CISO or a director, maybe you don't need to know all this ins and out. Obviously, the more you know, the better. But using ChatGPT is great for this kind of things. There are many ways of reducing the attack surface. One tool you can use, if you use Microsoft Defender for endpoint specifically, in Microsoft Defender, there is this attack surface where you can create policies to kind of reduce the attack surface. But you could look at a map, for example, to see what your attack surface is. So here is my tenant. This is the root, right, where everything is connected to this tenant. In this tenant, you have devices, and then you have identities. Devices and identities are the two most important key components in a zero trust mindset. So if you want to start with zero trust, and if you want to start to really protecting your environment, these are the two places where you need to start: identities and devices. And when we're talking about identities, we're talking about the users, but an identity could also be an application. It could be a security principle, which we will talk a little bit about, especially in these days where a lot of companies are either hybrid, they are either in the cloud, they are thinking about going to the cloud. But anyway, the cloud is here to stay. Every day, more and more companies are migrating at least some services to the cloud, right? I do not know any single company, I'm talking about medium, large companies, I do not know anyone that doesn't use something in the cloud. Because if you use, for example, HR to do your checks and stuff, a lot of companies in the cloud, anything that you use in the cloud, if you use Exchange Online, for email. Well, that is the cloud. That is SaaS. So again, um, I do not know any single company that doesn't have this stuff in the cloud. So devices and identities, and of course, your cloud assets. Whether you use Salesforce or you use Dropbox or Box or whatever it is that you use, right? So these are the actually I would say the three components, most important components that you need to protect. But if you're not in the cloud yet, and again, most likely you have something in the cloud, you should start with devices and identity. And devices basically mean that you need to have an advanced modern XDR software like Microsoft Defender or Defender for Endpoint. Now, obviously, um, I like Defender for Endpoint. I have used it. It's a very robust product, and it has come a long way. It's competing with CrowdStrike and Sophos and Kaspersky and all those big companies. And again, so if you look at the do a Google search, you'll find out. But anyway, so um, being able to have visibility is extremely important, and this is what this attack surface map does. Whatever software you choose, make sure that they have features similar to this. So we were talking about ZenMap is the Windows version of Nmap, and it's very easy to use. It's GUI based, so you can just do Google search, download it, install it on Windows. Here I am using my entire network as the base for this command, and then here is the command. That again, you can produce that with ChatGPT. Now, ZenMap has different profiles that you can choose over here. And once you get whatever you want, you click on run, which is around here, and then you produce this. And here, in my entire network, I have a lot of devices, IoT devices, cameras, smart TVs, and all that kind of stuff. But basically, it found two computers in my network where the remote desktop port is open, which is port 3389. Now, this is my network, and I know that I specifically opened this port and I have other security measures in place. But again, this is a way um, to have visibility into your network to find out what ports are open. Question 42. The security architect is designing and implementing an internal certification authority to generate digital certificates for all employees. Which of the following is the best solution to securely store the private keys? A. Physical secure storage device. B. Trusted platform module or TPM. C. Encrypted flash drive. Or D. Public key infrastructure or PKI. The correct answer is B. The Trusted Platform Module or TPM. A Trusted Platform Module or TPN is a hardware-based security module that securely stores cryptographic keys, such as private keys, and performs cryptographic operations in a tamper-resistant environment. It is the best option for securely storing private keys because one, keys never leave the TPN once generated. Two, offers hardware level protection against physical and logical attacks. And three, commonly used in enterprise environments for certificate-based authentication. For example, to install one of the key features to have to install Windows 11 or for a computer to support Windows 11 is to have a TPN module. And it has been announced that Microsoft will start supporting Windows 10 computers by October of this year, 2025. So what that means is that a lot enterprises will have to get rid of Windows 10 computers that do not support Windows 11, and this is a big deal But anyway, so the point is that the TPM is a very important component in cybersecurity, especially from the operating system perspective. Question 43. The existence of physical barriers, card and personal identification number, access systems, cameras, alarms, and security guards best describe this security approach. A. Access control. B. Security information and event management, or SIEM. C. Defense in depth. Or D. Security perimeter. The correct answer here is C. Defense in depth. Defense in depth is a layered security strategy that uses multiple types of controls: physical, technical, and administrative, to protect your assets. The combination of physical barriers, PIM systems, cameras, alarms, and security guards represents multiple layers designed to deter, detect, delay, and respond to threats. So again, this is a representation of the defense in depth that we just talked about. So, and again, defense in depth is a cybersecurity strategy that uses multiple layer security controls to protect data and systems. The idea is that if one control fails, others will still provide protection. This approach includes a mix of physical, technical, and administrative safeguards, such as firewalls, intrusion detection systems, access controls, encryption, surveillance, and security policies. Each layer addresses different types of threats and delays or deters attackers, increasing the chance of detection and response. Defense in depth reduces the likelihood of a single point of failure and strengthens the overall security posture of an organization against evolving cyber threats. Now, even though defense in depth have been used since the beginning of cybersecurity for a long time, actually, when you look back, yes, it is helpful, but every day there are more and more attacks. And a lot of companies somehow, one way or another, use this uh, strategy. Now, a more recent strategy, and where a lot of companies are going, it's on the zero trust mentality or mindset. Now, zero trust also uses defense in depth, but it goes beyond that. Um, so zero trust concentrate on the identity, and zero trust also makes sure that access is not permitted based on whether you are internal or external. You are basically in zero trust is basically even if you trust, you have to verify every time that an identity, a user, needs to ask something, you need to verify if that is a legitimate access. But anyway, so there will be many questions in this video series about the zero trust. So we will talk more about that in the future. But what I wanted to emphasize is that, again, zero trust has been in place for a long, defense in depth have been in place for a long time. And again, we have more and more attacks. But the idea is that in cybersecurity, the main goal is to protect data. This is what we really need to protect. In traditional, we have always started from the top, a top-bottom approach. Now, in zero trust, um, in somehow we start from the bottom. You really have to start from bottom and look at ways to protect this data. So we'll talk a lot more about that. But so you need to protect the data. You need to protect the apps, right? So the apps where that data reside. And those applications are hosted somewhere, which is the devices, right? And then those devices are part of a network, and that network has some perimeter, right? And you need to protect. Now, obviously, without physical security, nothing works. And to protect all these things, you need policies, procedures, and obviously um, security and awareness training. So there will be several questions in the exam where they will ask you about defense in depth. And again, so we will discuss this more in depth as we move along. Question 44. A hospital enforces the Code of Fair Information Practices. What practice applies to a patient requesting their medical records from a web portal? A. Purpose specification. B. Collection limitation. C. Use limitation. Or D. Individual participation. The correct answer here is D. Individual participation. Under the Code of Fair Information Practices, individual participation refers to the right of individuals to 1. Know if the personal data is being collected, 2. Access the data, 3. Challenge its accuracy, and 4. Request corrections if needed. Um, so when a patient requests their medical records from a hospital's web portal, they are exercising the right to access and review their own information, which aligns with the principle of individual participation. Now, for many of you watching this video, if you are not a CISSP holder, you probably are not familiar with this, or if you're not into the medical field or even the privacy field. So, what is the Code of Fair Information Practices, or FIPS? The Code of Fair Information Practices is a set of privacy principles developed in the 1970s by the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare to guide the collection, use, and protection of personal data. These principles form the foundation of modern data privacy laws and frameworks, including the GDPR, HIPAA, and OECD privacy guidelines. Core principles of FIPS are 1. Collection limitation, 2. Data quality, 3. Purpose specification, 4. Use limitation, 5. Security safeguards, 6. Openness, 7. Individual participation, and 8. Accountability. I do not expect for you to have many questions regarding this, but you should be expected to get at least 1 or 2 questions. And the reason is that privacy concerns have increased tremendously over the years, with HIPAA and like the GDPR in the European Union, for example. So it's important to understand what this is all about and be aware that yes, you might get 1 or 2 questions in the exam about this topic. Question 45. A colleague who recently left the organization asked a security professional for a copy of the organization's confidential incident management policy. Which of the following is the best response to this request? A. Access the policy on a company issued device and let the former colleague view the screen. B. Email the policy to the colleague as they were already part of the organization and familiar with it. C. Do not acknowledge receiving the request from the former colleague and ignore them. D. Submit the request using company official channels to ensure the policy is okay to distribute. The correct answer is D. Submit the request using company official channels to ensure the policy is okay to distribute. When dealing with confidential information, especially requests from former employees, the best course of action is to follow official company procedures. This ensures that one, proper authorization is obtained before sharing any sensitive documents. Two, legal and policy compliance is maintained. And three, you are not personally liable for unauthorized disclosure. Even if the former colleague had access before, they no longer have a right to the information after leaving the organization. Question 46. Which of the following best describes when an organization should conduct a black box security audit on a new software product? A, when the organization wishes to check for non-functional compliance. B, when the organization wants to enumerate known security vulnerabilities across their infrastructure. C, when the organization is confident the final source code is complete. Or D, when the organization has experienced a security incident. The correct answer here is C, when the organization is confident the final source code is complete. A black box security audit simulates an external attack on a system without access to its internal source code or architecture. It focuses on evaluating the application's behavior and security from an outsider's perspective. The best time to conduct this type of test is after the software is fully developed, ensuring all features and logic are in place for realistic testing. Question 47. In software development, which of the following entities normally signs the code to protect the code integrity? A, the organization developing the code. B, the quality control group. C, the developer. Or D, the data owner. The correct answer here is A, the organization developing the code. In software development, code signing is typically performed by the organization responsible for developing and distributing the code. This process uses a digital certificate to sign the code, ensuring that one, authenticity, that means that the code came from a trusted source, and two, integrity, that the code has not been tampered with since it was signed. The organization manages the signing keys and certificates, making them accountable for the software's trustworthiness and distribution. Think about when Microsoft or Apple release a piece of software. So there are hundreds and sometimes, hundreds and hundreds of developers. No single developer is in charge of this. There may be a someone who's the lead of that group, but anyway, so the organization developing the code is actually the responsible for this. Question 48. Which of the following technologies can be used to monitor and dynamically respond to potential threats on web applications? A, field level tokenization. B, web application vulnerability scanners. C, runtime application self-protection or RASP. Or D, security assertion markup language or SAML. The correct answer here is C, runtime application self-protection RASP. Runtime application self-protection RASP is a security technology that is integrated into the application runtime environment. It can monitor, detect, and automatically block attacks in real time as the application is running. RASP actively protects web application by one, inspecting inputs and application behavior, two, blocking malicious activity dynamically, and three, responding to threats without human intervention. Here are some examples, some providers of where the RASP security solutions and how they are used. But application types commonly used using RAPs are, the banking and the fintech apps, healthcare platforms like HIPAA apps, SaaS platforms. Microsoft uses that with the Defender suite, e-commerce applications, mobile apps, government and defense apps. Now, why are applications using RAPs? Well, they provide real-time attack detection and prevention, in-app visibility without external tools, integration with CI/CD for DevOps, and zero-day protection based on app behavior. These are some of the use cases. Question 49. A security architect is developing an information system for a client. One of the requirements is to deliver a platform that mitigates against common vulnerabilities and attacks. What is the most efficient option used to prevent buffer overflow attacks? A. Access control mechanisms. B. Process isolation. C. Address space layout randomization or ASLR. Or D. Processor states. The correct answer is C. Address space layout randomization, ASLR. Address space layout randomization is a memory protection technique that randomizes or randomizes rather the memory addresses used by systems and application processes. This makes it much harder for attackers to predict where code or data resides, which is essential in buffer overflow attacks that rely on knowing precise memory locations. By constantly changing memory address locations, ASLR, one, reduces the chance of successful code injection, two, prevents the return to uh, lib and other memory-based exploits, and four, it's widely used in modern operating systems such as like Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, Windows 10, after Windows 10, Windows 11, and the latest versions of Linux and Mac OS. So the key point is to make sure that you have a modern operating system and get rid of legacy OSs like Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 2008, etc. And obviously that your OSs are up to date. Question 50 and the last of this session. In a quarterly system access review, an active privilege account was discovered that did not exist in the prior reviews on the production system. The account was created 1 hour after the previous access reviews. Which of the following is the best option to reduce overall risk in addition to quarterly access reviews? A. Implement biannual reviews. B. Create policies for system access. C. Implement and review risk-based alerts. Or D. Increase logging levels. The correct answer here is C. Implement and review risk-based alerts. While quarterly access reviews are important, they are not real-time and may miss newly created privilege accounts as seen in this scenario. Risk-based alerts provide continuous monitoring and can trigger immediate notifications when one, a privileged account is created, two, anomalous or high-risk access occurs, and three, access patterns deviate from the norm. This proactive approach significantly reduces response time and helps detect unauthorized or suspicious activities between scheduled reviews. When we are talking about privileged accounts, so if you have a domain controller, if you use Active Directory, and a lot of companies do. For example, members of the domain admins. They have full control over all domain controllers and domain resources. They can manage user accounts, group policies, and all computers in the domain. It is one of the most powerful group in the domain. So anyone who is a member of the domain admins or the enterprise admin, even more still, right? Or the schema admins or the administrators built-in group. So anyone who's a member of those groups is a privileged account. And those accounts are extremely powerful and dangerous. As a matter of fact, most high data breaches, ransomware attacks that have happened and continue to happen on a daily basis, um, in most cases is because one of these accounts was compromised. So these accounts contain the key of the kingdom. So when a cyber criminal wants to get access to a company, actually this is what they are looking for. They are looking to uh, get access to the credentials for one of this account, especially in a local account. If you are in the cloud, like AWS or Microsoft Azure, even Google GCP, then they're looking for accounts like the root account in AWS, the global admin in Microsoft Azure. So again, it is extremely important to protect these privileged accounts. In a Microsoft environment, it is important that you enable auditing of account management events using a GPO. And again, so this is the way that you would navigate to a GPO in a Microsoft environment, and you would do that. Now, as a cybersecurity professional, depending on what your role is, you may not be in charge of doing these things, but a security person in a way, the security department, it's kind of like an audit department. One of the main roles of the security program of the security team is to actually audit the IT team, right? So you have to make sure that these things are being done. You want to be able to detect if any of these privilege accounts is managed, whether it is created, modified, deleted, if the password is changed, etc. So it's important to do these things. If you want to automate these things, you could use PowerShell to produce a script. Here is a script that I produced with ChatGPT. And what this script would do is that it would monitor when these groups. So here we are monitoring domain admins, enterprise admins, schema admins, and the administrator's local group account. So basically, what you could do is create a script like this, and then you could use the task service in Windows to automate this and maybe produce a report on a daily basis to see if any of these groups are have been modified. Now, as a security person or team member or role in a company, it is important that you are aware of these things and whether they are happening or not. One of the things that happens very often is that the IT team does a lot of the stuff that put the company in danger, and most of the time the security team does not have visibility into the stuff that the IT team is doing. So one of the job of the security team is then have some kind of automation where these reports are then sent to a distribution email address where so that the IT team can or the people in the security team, right, responsible for monitoring this kind of things, so that you are aware of what's going on. Now, in Microsoft Azure, if you go to your tenant, and then you go to Microsoft Entra and Identity Governance, you can create what is called an access review, in which you could, I do not have any access review created on my tenant. I just have a small tenant with very few accounts, and um, I'm the only one who basically it's a global admin, so there's no need for this. But anyways, what you would do, the most powerful group in or role in Microsoft Azure is the global admin. So what you would do is you create an access review, for example, protecting the global admins. And every time that something happens to that group, whether it is that an account is added or an account is removed, then you get notified about that. But also access review will go in and you can automate this. And you say, okay, I want to review this on a weekly basis. And anyone that is not supposed to be on that group can be removed automatically, for example, if they have been removed. Now, also by default, in Microsoft, when someone is added to any privilege account, obviously the admin group is just one of them. There are many privilege accounts in Microsoft Azure in the cloud. And again, AWS, GCP, the same thing. I am going to use Microsoft as for a lot of the examples in this video series because um, I do have a Microsoft tenant, and then I can relate to that. So it's not that I'm promoting Microsoft again, but it is just to give context to these questions. So anyway, so the actually, and if I'm promoting Microsoft, then actually Microsoft folks should probably compensate me. But anyways, the bottom line is that you can create access reviews. Access reviews are important. You need to automate this because you need to protect your privileged accounts. As I was saying before, most of the time, cyber criminals, if they have access to a privileged account from the start, that's like a golden ticket. That's like, they hit a home run. They got the key to the kingdom. In many cases, cyber criminals get access to a regular user account, and then they have to do some privilege escalation tactics to be able to obtain this account. But the goal of any cyber criminal is to have access to a privileged account, and that's why this is such an important topic. Not only for the cybersecurity plus exam, but in the real world. So keep in mind that even though the main goal of this video series is to help you pass the CISSP, but also it is my intention to really learn about cybersecurity and how these things are done. So this is not just about passing the exam, although that's the main goal. It is also my goal that you understand the tools, the techniques, the countermeasures to protect against real examples of attacks and to protect again from the CIA confidentiality, integrity, availability, which is um, everything that we do in cybersecurity is related to that. All right, so this is the end to this session. Next session is coming soon. I'm trying to produce 1 to 3 sections on a weekly basis. So if you're seriously about passing the CISSP exam, you don't need to go anywhere else. I will make this so that this is your only stop, the single step to pass this um, rigorous and difficult exam. And please, a favor of you, if you find this content useful, subscribe, give me a star, leave a comment. If there's anything that I can do to improve and make this better, please let me know. I would immensely appreciate that. And another thing, please share this with anyone that you think that might be interested in this kind of topics. Thanks, and hope that you continue with me in this journey.